The way the communication from the White House about President Trump's health, how it's emblematic of how this administration has generally handled this COVID-19 pandemic from the beginning, and how ultimately one of the easiest elections in modern history is being blown for no reason. And again, let me reiterate. Unlike most people in the media and in Hollywood, I want Trump to be better. It's horrific for the country and the world to have the leader of the free world waylaid by a deadly virus. And more importantly, we need him actually out on the campaign trail. The day before, the world was frankly stunned as the news broke that Trump was ill enough that he had decided to spend the next several days at the presidential suite at Walter Reed Medical Center. He put out a video where he appeared okay. But speculation was rampant. How sick should a commander-in-chief actually have to be to need to go to the hospital? Not an exaggeration to say. The entire world is watching. The stakes are very high for the president's doctor during his first briefing. And then this happened.
Just 72 hours into the diagnosis now.
He's receiving no, he has not received any supplemental oxygen?
He's not on oxygen right now, that's right.
He has not received any at all?
He's not needed any this morning, today at all. That's right.
Immediately, everyone started freaking out. What? 72 hours ago from when the doctor was speaking? So he means that the Trump was diagnosed on Wednesday, and then he knowingly traveled and interacted with hundreds of people while positive? And as far as the supplemental oxygen is concerned, it seems obvious at some point the president had been on supplemental oxygen, and the doctor just didn't want to say? Why? Nobody would begrudge him for that. It's probably happened to millions of Americans at this point. By trying to avoid panic, they actually stoked confusion, which is like a cancer in the middle of a crisis. Eventually, the doctor clarified the timeline, saying he really meant at the time that he was speaking that they were not at the third day of diagnosis, but what came after is what really threw everything to real chaos. The White House delivered an unnamed statement to the press pool and distributed it to the entire media, saying, quote, "The president's vitals over the last 24 hours were very concerning, and the next 48 hours will be critical in terms of his care. We're still not on a clear path to full recovery." What? This is right after a doctor said that the president was doing well and there wasn't all that much to worry about. After a lot of hand-wringing about whether to even believe the source, the White House chief of staff came out and put his name to that statement. But the interim hours were a period where you have a doctor saying one thing, then an anonymous White House official saying actually the president's condition is dire. And somehow it gets even worse because after Meadows came out of the shadow and he put his name to that quote, he started revealing older lies about the president's health that was told the previous day during an appearance on Fox News late Saturday. Let's take a listen.
The biggest thing that we see is that with no fever now, and with him doing really well with his oxygen saturation levels, we yesterday morning we were real concerned with that. You know, he had a fever, and his blood oxygen level had dropped rapidly.
Wait, what? So according to the White House chief of staff, on Friday, the president had a fever and rapidly dropping oxygen levels. The implication being he was on supplemental oxygen. Again, you have the White House chief of staff using the words, "We were real concerned." But worse, on Friday, when all that was actually happening, the official line from the White House was that the president had, quote, "mild symptoms." As if it really could not get worse. Sunday, when the president's doctors faced the news media again, he essentially admitted he downplayed the seriousness of Trump's condition because he didn't want to, quote, "give any information that might steer the course of the illness in another direction."
It's a good question.
Thank you.
I was trying to reflect the upbeat attitude that the team, the president, that his course of illness has had. I didn't want to give any information that might steer the course of illness in another direction, and in doing so, it came off that we were trying to hide something, which wasn't necessarily true.